Hey guys, what's going on? So it's Chris. This is I received my slug liner. So I sent I sent the FX 800 millimeter barrel out to Skout to do a custom barrel for my Skout air gun to put the STX Superior Heavy liner 30 caliber in it. This is an STX Superior 30 cal heavy liner, and they fitted it to this bushing and to this line, and they actually hooked me up. They sent me the whole new sleeve like this with the fitting for the suppressor that they have, right? And obviously the STX is fitted perfectly in here by itself. I'm gonna put this inside. This is the old barrel liner because there's a lot of space in here and it doesn't have anything filling that space. So what I'm thinking I'm gonna do is put the O-rings on here and then this like it was. I'm gonna order an 800 millimeter sleeve, the carbon fiber sleeve, but I don't have one because I used them all, the 700s. I would have put a just shorter one on there, but I don't have any left. And then I'm gonna put these bigger O-rings around the outer barrel from the FX and put that in here to tighten it up in here. But this liner fits perfectly in here. I just want to fill that space for the harmonics. And then they sent me a brand new suppressor. And then I ordered 2 magazines, but they also sent me a new firing pin. Sorry, I always call them a firing pin of pellet probe. They sent me another probe. I don't know if it's. I believe it's probably. I'm thinking it's probably for a 22 caliber because I also ordered 22 caliber magazines because they're designing their slug liners, and the first one that's going to come out is a 22. So I told them if that's the case, I'll take a 22 liner, a 22 liner as soon as they're ready, and the firing pin or the push probe and the push probe and the magazines. I ordered 2 magazines. So he sent me the magazines and the probe, and they charged me. It wasn't very expensive for. I mean, they gave me a lot for what I paid. Honestly, they really did right by me. Bill was awesome. If you guys ever met the owner, Bill, I met him at a competition, and he remembered me because I was flying a drone when he met me, and so they charged me $150, and then the magazines were $100 each, which is standard, and then $90 for whatever that was. And they sent me back all my parts, so $470 with tax and everything, and shipping and whatnot. And I mean, I think I got a deal for what I paid. I got another extra suppressor, and their design for the suppressor is actually really good. Here's my original. So I have each liner, each barrel has its own suppressor, and then I can actually just put an 800 millimeter 22 caliber STX liner in here, because this will fit the liner. So I have all the stuff to fit any caliber of the FX liners that I want. I'm still going to do one of their liners because theirs are actually even longer. This is 800 millimeter. I think theirs are 850. So it's not a big amount longer, but when you figure this has to go all the way down into there, it's a significant amount. So what I did is, this is the 800 millimeter sleeve, the outer barrel. I have 3 of these because I ordered 1 in each caliber, but I really don't need 3. I have 2 guns, so I don't really need the 3rd sleeve. It's just the liners that I need, which I only have 1 30 caliber liner, but I'll alternate between the guns with 22, 25, and 30. I can only use 1 in each gun at a time, so it's not a big deal. So these O-rings somewhat fit. They fit the outside of the outer barrel. And I have to look up what size goes on the inner barrel, in between the inner barrel and the liner, but I mean in between the sleeve and the liner. This one though is a little tight going into this entrance, but on the inside of these threads it's a little bit wider, and I believe this is epoxied. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some silicone grease on this, and hopefully that will get me to slide in here with that O-ring on it and get it. I'm going to put a little ring of electrical tape on either side of each one of these O-rings because I don't want them to move. So that's what I'm going to do on the outer barrel, and then the inner barrel I'm going to use the stock size, and I'm going to just you know, slide that in, and then once I get the carbon fiber sleeve, because they're actually hard to find for the 800s, and I don't really want to order. I used a 700 on the other ones because I had it already, but I would like to get an 800 so it fills the whole space, which actually honestly it probably won't fill the whole space anyway, because this is in a different liner, in a different outer barrel. Well, no, yeah, but I don't know exactly how it's going to fit. It's going to probably be, because there's the threaded part for the back right here with the transfer port is not on there, and then the nut on the front is not on there. So those two things that held it in place are not there to hold it in place. So I want to hold it tightly, which this, I have to shave a little bit off of the end of this, but I'm getting it to the point where it's gonna tension this down perfectly when I tighten the inner liner, which is epoxy to that. This is gonna tension down both this on the end of the inside of the sleeve right here. So the inner barrel will tension right here, which you see there's the notch right there, so that'll tension right into there where it sits, and then also the end of this will tension down the outer barrel. So it's almost perfect right now. I just have to literally sand this down a little bit, and it's that close where I just need to sand it a little bit, and it'll be right where I want it. So I'm just going to do that and then do the O-rings, and I'll show you guys what I'm doing if you wanted to do this yourself. But also, I mean, I didn't try shooting it the way that I got it. I just am doing it because I didn't have the carbon fiber liner to send with it for them to fit it that way, and I knew that, and I told them that because I thought I had another 700 I was going to send, but I didn't. So he knew that when I sent it, and he said, you know, just when you get it back, you can do whatever you want to do with the carbon fiber liner on the inside, which, you know, I agreed was totally fine, because that's just what I do anyways. I always take everything apart and customize it, and I'm always like, have to get intricate with things because that's just the way my brain works. I just am that way. But that's why I make these videos, because the trial and error that I do will probably save you guys a lot of time and money and whatever doing that stuff, and I'm going to do it anyway, so why not share it and let you guys save some time and money. Hopefully that's what it's actually doing, that it's saving you guys time and money. I mean, you have to spend the time watching the video, obviously, but I give you as much information in the video as I can. Let me see. I had a pair of scissors over here so I can make nice clean cuts on here, but this has got a sharp blade. Oh, you know what I do have? I have a scalpel. There we go. I got my scalpels. This is an actual medical 10 blade. I mean, it's similar to a razor, but they are a little bit sharper. Alright. So what I'm doing is I'm just putting a little, 3 or 4 times around the outer barrel with electrical tape, just so that the O-rings stay in a small amount of space. I don't do them crazy tight, but I do them in a crazy tight space. They can move back and forth about a ½ an inch, but they can't go much further than that. Like, they can just slide a little bit back and forth, a little bit back and forth, and that's it. So let me put you guys a little closer so you can see what I'm doing. Alright, and the mic is, yes, okay, it's working. Right, hello? Yeah, okay, good. Sorry. Alright, so here we are. I'll get you where you can see the table. Okay, so, and that's about what it looks like. It's just one O-ring and then the electrical tape on each side, and I'm going to do 4 total. So now this is going to act as the inner liner, which is not really the inner liner. There's another inner liner after it, but it's going to act like the inner liner would. I just want to add some vibration dampening on the inside, because the barrel, just the liner, the STX 800 millimeter liner, even though it's the heavy liner, which is a lot thicker, it's not it's not supported in any way in the middle. So I'm just adding a way to support it throughout the barrel, because with that high pressure of air and you're shooting heavy projectiles, it's going to definitely have some vibration. So I'm just trying to deaden that the best I can. And then I am going to order the 800 millimeter sleeve as soon as I can find one, because everywhere that does have the option for an 800, which is not very many, they seem to be out of stock. So when people got the 800 millimeter barrels, I'm sure they got the liners like I tried to. I just must have been late to getting the liners, because I think I ordered, I don't remember how I ordered it. It's been a while now, but anyways, so the four are pretty evenly spaced. And remember, I'm going to take a little tiny bit off of this. It's not going to be even really noticeable, but I am going to shave a little bit off of there. And then I'm going to do the inner barrel. I'm going to look up that size of the O-ring. I'll let you guys know in the next segment. I'm going to do a brief interval while I look that up and shave this down a little bit. But I'm just doing it because I don't have anything to put in that barrel that I can measure exact measurements. Like, I have micrometers and calipers and all that kind of stuff, but I need it to be long and very narrow to go all the way down and measure, because the barrel parts are epoxied, and I don't want to have to take those apart, because I didn't epoxy it and I don't know exactly how much play I have in there, and I'm not going to mess around with it and try to find out taking it off, and if I damage one of the parts, then I have to remake it, and I don't want to have to do that. So I'm just going to do it a tiny bit at a time until it's exact, which is going to be a little time consuming, so I'm not going to make you guys suffer through that. What I will do is I'll measure it afterwards, in case you guys end up doing an STX liner conversion, which I would definitely highly recommend going to Skout, because they made some fantastic parts, and I'm just dampening the vibrations on the inside, but I mean, they have the STX liner fitting their sleeve perfectly. It really does. The end of the barrel liner sits right in here perfectly. This tensions down at the front. The only reason I'm doing this is to fill the space in between the two. So I'm going to put the O-rings on this and put it in here. And then this whole thing is going to go in there. And then this nut here is going to tension down both of them, because this will sit in its seat down further, right, like this. That's going to sit in its seat, and this is going to sit up against the end of this, because that slides up into the carbon fiber a little. I'll show you. It's actually very close right now. It's like I said, I just literally, actually I'm going to have to loop these up. It's actually literally just enough to just sand it with. I'm going to use my belt sander, my desktop or benchtop belt sander, and just shave it down a little tiny bit by sanding it, because it's not even enough to cut. I did cut a small piece off it. It was just, I put it in to see how close it was, and it was far enough that I could cut a little piece. So I cut maybe about 3/4 of an inch on the bandsaw, and the rest of it I'm going to do with the sander, because it was kind of close already as far as length. But diameter, it worked out really well, because I thought I was going to have to custom machine a whole piece like this on the lathe, and that's not something I really wanted to have to do, because it would have been pretty time consuming to make the outer diameter perfect, especially on something this length. Because my lathe is not CNC programmable, it's a manual lathe. I have a CNC milling machine, but not a CNC lathe. But I think I'm gonna end up getting one, or adding it to that. They do make conversions, but I may get it separately, because I was thinking about starting to sell the suppressors that I've been making, and making a business out of it, and both 3D printed as well as CNC machined aluminum, because the 3D printed ones have been surprising me tremendously when you use engineering grade filaments. Like I've been making them with PA12 carbon fiber, or with when I use the, see, that actually slipped right over the freaking tape. I might have to put a thicker layer of tape, because it's very tight on this outer part. It'll be tight on the inner part, but if I go with any smaller O-ring, it won't be tight on that inner part. It's just got to get through this. So I'm going to just give it a hand with this small flathead, getting it in here, because the outer part is slightly narrower for the threads. But once I get it in there, it should be good, and it's not going to come out easily, but it'll come back out. And worst case scenario, the O-ring stays in there and you can just get that out by itself once the barrel's out. But I'm not planning on taking it back out. This should be a very effective vibration dampening technique. I'm going to just take the inner liner out while I do this so it's not sliding back and forth. So let me do this over here so you guys can see. That's why I had it back a little further, but I just don't want to be back too far for you to see it. Alright, so I'm just pushing down the O-ring with this small flathead to get it through this part with the threads at the end for the tensioning nut. And once I get it through there, that'll be good. I'll just have a few more of them to get through, and once they all get through, they should be in there nice and tight. That might be, no, it's starting to go over the tape again. Maybe I should have done a couple more layers of the tape. Maybe I will on the next one. There we go. Alright, that's one. And that is, yeah, that's filling the gap pretty good on that part. It's moving around enough where it can hit the tip of it, because there's only one O-ring in there, but once I get the others in there, I can feel the tension on it. Yeah, it's pretty good. Alright, so I'm going to do a couple extra layers of the tape on this one so it doesn't slide over the tape so easily. Wow, that scalpel cut it really clean. I can't even see the cut. So I would say do like 5 or 6 layers of the electrical tape if you're using like typical. I buy good electrical tape because it's not just for stuff like this. It's for jobs that I do. So I always buy the 3M or the there's a couple other good brands, but mainly 3M. And then it's nice and soft and pliable when you get good electrical tape. It's not all hard and you know, like making its own, and like it's deformed to the roll. But this stuff is nice and pliable. So I'm going to do additional 3 rolls on each one so that these have a nice buffer to keep them in place, and I can push it a little harder without the O-ring sliding over. I probably should have done this before the grease, but the grease is not far enough down because I haven't pushed the O-ring over it yet, like that first one. So it's got plenty of tape that hasn't been lubricated to adhere to. Okay, so that should be good. So I'm doing about 3 more wraps, so I would say a total of 7 wraps, 7 times around the barrel to really keep these O-rings in place. I will get you the size of these O-rings as well. I think I'm going to have to manually measure it because they were in one of my compartmentalized bins that I don't have the numbers on, but I can get it for you. I'll just measure it with the caliper. But you see, even when I'm lifting this up, it's staying in there. So you need the extra tape really to hold these in place going in, because it opens up a little bit on the inside. And like I said, the reason I'm not taking it apart to do this and put it straight into that part is because I'm almost 100% sure. I could even see part of the epoxy, so I'm pretty positive that there's epoxy in there. And then I actually do have to shave this down a little bit, so I'm going to shave it down on this end because I already put that in. But it's such a very little amount, because when this is tensioned completely, I've tried fitting it already. When it's completely tensioned, this sleeve and the liner are almost totally tight. It's just the liner is not quite there, so I need a little bit more off of this to get the liner all the way tight. But I think total it's probably still less than an inch with the piece that I cut off and then what I'm having to do now. So that's lubricated, and it's got a good amount of tape. Oh, yeah, it's going through. Okay, that worked. So yeah, 7 times around, and you should be able to get it to force through instead of having to push it through like I did with the screwdriver. Oh, that one's pretty tight. It's fighting me. Oh, because the electrical tape's bunching up because of the lubricant. Okay, well, that's the part where it stopped adhering because of the lubricant, so I'll cut that part off. Alright, so you don't have to have a medical grade number 10 blade scalpel for this. You can do this with an X-Acto knife or even a utility knife. I would have been using my utility knife if the blade was a little sharper. I just happen to have these from the dentist upstairs, and I thought of it, so I grabbed one. But it's not necessary to do this. There we go. You're almost in there. I think this one's going to need a little shove. My God, why is my phone going off so much? Well, at least I put it on vibrate because it would be obnoxious ringing that much. I'm going to grab my rubber mallet and give this a whack. I'll be right back. It's right here. So I'm gonna pause it and make another segment when I'm done with this to go and shave this down a little bit in the workshop. There we go. Alright, I still gotta shove that. I think I'm making the tape slide at this point. The O-ring is in, but the tape kind of bunched up because I should have done that before I lubricated it. The other one grabbed pretty good, but this one got a little slippery. There we go. It's in perfect now. Alright, so now I'm just gonna, all I'm going to do is just take a little tiny bit of this with the sander, and it's a belt sander, it's a benchtop belt sander. So I'm just gonna shave a little bit of this off with the belt sander, just take a very small amount. And let me measure these O-rings if I have my caliper handy, and I'll tell you what they are. Let me just grab a new O-ring and I'll measure it separately so you guys know what size to use if anybody wants to custom fit. I totally very highly recommend going to Skout and letting them do your conversion for sure, because they made some great parts. This is just to fill the space between this, and I'm going to do the same thing on the inner liner. I'm going to do the 2 layers and then the stock size O-rings for now until I get the carbon fiber liner, and then I'll pull it out and put the carbon fiber liner. But for now, I'm going to use the stock size O-rings and a piece of a few probably only 3 on this layers of electrical tape to keep them in place, and a little bit of silicone lube, and that's going to be that. So this is the size right here. So let's see where my caliper is that I keep in here, and I will measure the size of that so I can give it to you guys. So if you want to do this, you'll have the sizes. I'm not sure where my caliper went. I was using it for something. You know what? In the next segment, when I get back from shaving that down, I will bring the caliper from in my workshop, and I will measure it with that, and I will let you guys know in, well, for you, just about 2 seconds. All right, I'll see you guys soon.